I say proof of concept. This is it right here. It is working great. I mean, does it get any easier than that? It doesn't. That's the answer. It's a game changer. Game changer. Hello and welcome back to Hardworking Man. My name's Heath and today I am going to show you something that I came up with that can make so many different horizontal log splitters so much better. It's a simple modification you can make that solves several different problems. I'm going to show you what that modification is, how I came up with it, and how you can do it to your log splitter if you run into this situation before. Now I'm just grabbing a couple different types of wood, different sizes. I've got ash, I've got maple, I've got oak. I'm gonna grab a couple beech, some knotty pieces, some non-knotty pieces, some with some crooked end cuts, straight end cuts, because it all matters, and you're gonna see why here in a second. All right, so we've all seen it if you've watched videos. If you've split on one of this style of machine, you've probably done it, especially if you have a conveyor. Someone's splitting and you're either pushing the pieces off, someone else is pulling the pieces off, throwing them into the conveyor. A lot of people do it, and they do it because it's not necessary, but it helps. You don't need to do that anymore. Now running these all wood splitters, I get the same comment a lot because these things are so fast. So when something happens, it happens quick. So people notice stuff on these all woods, mine, on Russ's, on my old one, that happen on a lot of different machines, and if you watch and pay attention, you'll see it. It's when a piece of wood like kicks out and goes flying. It can come back at you, it'll snap sideways and get split in half sometimes. And like I said, I've seen it on different machines and it all happens for the same reason. And the fact that no one has figured this out yet, why it's happening, how to fix it, blows my mind because it's so simple. Anyone can make this modification. It doesn't cost much at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see this or a version of this on a lot of commercial wood splitters moving forward, because in the limited testing I've done, it just makes sense and it works so good. Now on this all wood and on any machine that has the flat wedge, the disappearing wedge, Eastonmade has it, all wood has it, a lot of commercial splitters have it, where you can have a 4-way and it can drop down to just a 2-way. And sometimes when you, especially if this table's congested, wood hits it and it kicks out. It flies sideways, it kicks backwards, it doesn't keep shoving off. Now, like I said, if you have a conveyor, we've all seen it and done it, pulling the pieces, feeding them into the conveyor. Even if you got the big trough, just the congestion that happens on the log table. I don't know if it bothers us or if it's just smoother to pull them off and do it that way. But there's no need for that anymore. And the longer the table, the more congestion or clustered it gets, I guess. And if you don't have a conveyor and you just push into a pile like this, as soon as you get resistance, it starts happening more. So now I'm gonna run a few pieces through and just show you how nice these come off. And then we'll get it to where it's sort of backed up and show you that it still works. Now sometimes the fixes are so simple, or the improvements are so simple, you'll say, why didn't I think of that? Why has no one thought of that? This resplit table on the all wood is one of those things. It's just so handy, so nice to work off. If you're working by yourself, you can put pieces up there. If you're working with someone else and they see a resplit, they can throw it up here, and again, it stops that congestion on the log trowel for the log tray. It's just one of those things that's super nice, super simple, and every horizontal commercial splitter should have something like that, in my opinion. look how nice that wood is feeding off from this. If you have a conveyor, I mean, look at that. There's no need to strip it. Most of it's just going straight into your conveyor. You'll still get some pieces that come out from here, and I'll explain why, but that's not really that much of an issue because it's not under pressure really. I mean, I guess it is because it's splitting, but it's not the same as when the pieces kick out from the bottom. Now, do you see how it's just sort of going straight off the table instead of just sort of creating a traffic jam of wood, I guess you could say? Now that one just kicked back out of here. I don't know if you saw it or not. Now here is a prime example. This is oak, and it's crooked on this end, and it's crooked on this end. Now a lot of times, especially when you got some congestion on the table, and you got a fast splitter, these crooked pieces will kick sideways when they split. But I'll put this the worst way it could be. Opposite cuts, it's not up or down, they're sideways, and it's just no longer an issue. Here again, a knotty piece of oak. This table's congested. It just doesn't matter. This bottom piece is staying straight. These pieces will come out a little bit, but like I said, that's not as big of a deal as when these bottom ones that had pressure on them were kicking out. So there, it just did it there with a small resplit, knotty piece. That's what I was talking about. And I have, I guess, not completely solved that issue, but I fixed it immensely. So do you see how, like, what I'm talking about here, how the wood is just a straighter push off? And like I said, if we had a conveyor here, it would be feeding into it a lot nicer than what it does before this modification. And the kicking out wood is really not much of, I would have said no longer an issue, but you did see that one kicked a little bit. It was a knotty, small, crooked cut that probably didn't get engaged to the wedge before it hit some of this wood. Otherwise, I don't think that would have happened. Let me clear this deck off and show you what I did and what you're gonna wanna do to your splitter if it has that flat bottom wedge. Now, I've done testing throughout the day, and I was pushing into this pile so much so that the splitter was rocking well hooked to the lawn tractor, and it was still just shoving it, just building this pile up, which before you couldn't do because you'd get way too many pieces kicking out sideways. So let's clear this, show you how I figured this out and what I did. Now, like I said, with these all woods, we get these comments a lot, and I'm sure Russ has got them, I've got them. People are like, man, I love that splitter, but Bobby's wedge design has a flaw to it, those kicking pieces. And again, like I said, it's not even the wedge design, which we didn't know, because he did change some things. He tried angling these wings further forward to engage the wood and sort of pull it in, and that didn't work. But on the 8-way wedge, I noticed it wasn't an issue. It was just the 4 or the 6-way, which this wedge here is sort of a 3-way wedge. If it's flipped around, it can be a 4-way. It can disappear into a 2-way, or you just raise it up, flip it around, and it's a 6-way. So this is patent pending and probably the coolest wedge design on the market. But people still are like, I love his machine, his wedge design's flawed, you get too many kickouts. Again, that's because of the speed of these machines. And it's no longer an issue. I fixed it today for $55. So my thought process, how I figured this out was, like I said, on the 8-way it didn't do it. So the 8-way has 2 up, 2 straight, and 2 down. So those down ones would hold the pieces in. So as a test, I took this wedge off and put it on upside down, because the 6-way is where you would get the most kickouts, I guess you could say. With this upside down, there weren't any kickouts on the bottom because these wings were down holding the pieces in. Well, you can't run this upside down. I can't bend the wedges. I didn't want to ask Bobby to build me all new wedges. So I ran to Family Farm and Home and I bought a 48-inch piece of 1.5-inch super thick angle iron. So here on the all-wood, this log tray is held on with these carriage bolts. As you can see, this is not factory color because this is what I added. I drilled 3 holes and I put a piece of angle iron on each side on the bottom. It still, I'll show you here, I'll flip this around to the 4-way. It still allows you to make the 4-way wedge disappear completely. This is also going to show you how nice this system is. 6-way, around to a 4-way, and if you drop it all the way down, now it's a 2-way. So this one wedge right here has 3 different splitting options. So the 1.5-inch angle iron works perfect for this all wood. On Eastonmades or other splitters, depending on your clearance here, it might be a little bit different. So I put that on, and I wanted to extend it underneath this. At first I was gonna weld it on, but I wasn't positive, you know, is it gonna work? So I didn't want to weld it. So I just drilled the holes, put the carriage bolts through it, and I have it angled slightly out because when the wood comes through and it splits, it's going to expand a little bit. Also, you don't want it constricting or even level. So you can see here, I put it slightly tighter here and looser here. I put the carriage bolts on the outside because I thought this would have more strength bending this way than the other way. Plus I wanted it a little bit tighter so that I guess it holds the wood sooner than if it was a little bit wider. So that little modification, adding this on both sides, shoots your wood off straight. We need to think of a name for this. The hardworking man, what? Wood aimer, wood straightener, something cool. Leave it in the comments if you have something slick, because I know you're gonna see this on more channels because it's an absolute game changer. So like I said, you can see here it's on both sides. It's wide enough so those pieces, when they get split, they fall into here, and in times past it would just sort of cluster out. But now this straightens it or aims it down the channel, down the chute, the hardworking man log chute, I don't know what. But just that little thing made a huge difference. I'm gonna throw some more wood on here, run it through, and get it to where we're pushing into the pile. So you can see, even with all the resistance of the pile, it still just keeps the wood straight. See how that cradles that wood? And it's gonna just shoot it straight out. I mean, how simple is that? Yet effective. So you'll still get the top pieces that'll come up once in a while, but it's not nearly the same as those bottom pieces. Now I am not a log splitter manufacturer. See, this one's sort of crooked. I am not a professional engineer. This is just something I thought of and it seems to work. So if you do want to try this, it's at your own risk. That's the disclaimer. I mean, I'm loving it. See how it's just shoving it straight, even with the resistance there? So once I get my conveyor build done, that won't even be an issue. It'll go straight into the conveyor. So there we've got, sometimes they'll get jammed in there like that. You just release the pressure a little. See, that's where before these would kick out with all that resistance and pressure. I'm loving it. So you can see we're building up that resistance at the end, and it just keeps shoving it. We'll grab a few more rounds, throw them on, and I mean, I don't know. I say proof of concept. This is it right here. It is working great. So we're gonna kick this back to the 6-way, and the last one we put through is a crooked cut, knotty piece of red oak. And we'll just, I mean, I'm super thrilled with this so far. I mean, does it get any easier than that? It doesn't, that's the answer. Set that one in crooked. Did you see that? I hope Zach got that. That piece I set in here crooked, and it started like this, and it literally grabbed my rail and straightened back out. Man, I hope that one is on there because that worked perfectly. You can see this whole machine rocking, pushing on the resistance there. Let's try this. I mean, this is just stupid testing now. All right, so you can't put them in sideways, but that's about, I mean, that still makes me happy because you don't split wood like that. So you still gotta put it in the trough. All right, let's pull this piece of, oh, look at this, how crooked this is. So this will be, I guess, a more real world test. So normally if I have a crooked cut, I would put that against the wedge. You want the flatter edge against your bar or against your push plate. This is a crotch piece, red oak. I am going to put it like this so you can see how crooked that is. I could sort of straighten it, but I'm not. It's right in the trough, super crooked. Let's see what happens. It straightens it out and pull, I mean, here, another one, a smaller piece. Crooked. That's a game changer. Game changer. If you don't know how to run a chainsaw and you cut crooked all the time, you need to put this on your splitter. Haha, yes. All right, so that one still went, a really crooked, small piece. So it's not perfect, but it is definitely a massive, massive improvement. I guarantee you're gonna be seeing this on more channels besides just Hardworking Man, because it just works. So what do you guys think? I mean, that I think is as good of a test as you can get. Putting nasty wood in, we had 1 or 2 kick, but that's putting it in worst case scenarios. If you got a conveyor and it's keeping that empty from just shoving and shoving and shoving, or you're not doing small, really crooked, knotty pieces, adding these little angle irons to your table, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited about it. Let me know what you think. What should we name it? Share this video with your friends, anyone that runs a log splitter. I think this can help them. Thanks for watching Hardworking Man, guys, and have a great day.